Hello and welcome to the Leave, Laugh, Love podcast. We're your hosts, Evelyn and Veronica. This is a podcast where we talk about life after high demand religion. When we were deconstructing, there weren't a lot of resources about the crazy kind of Catholicism we'd found ourselves in, so we decided to be a resource for others in that place. We may have left the church, but we're still laughing and loving. No matter where you're at with your faith, we're so happy you're here today. Hello and welcome. Today, our topic is J.D. Vance and Amy Coney Barrett, and just kind of talking about the niches and the backgrounds of Catholicism they came from. I actually just got an email literally like 1 hour ago that I just opened my laptop and saw, where someone was seeing something I had posted and being like, I don't really understand how you're going to tie Amy Coney Barrett and J.D. Vance together. And I'm like, no, it's not that they're connected to each other individually. It's like the things that they are both connected to within the Catholic world that I'm interested in.
They're both Catholics in very high positions of power.
Yes.
At the highest level of power in our country.
Who both have ties to the charismatic movement, which is what Veronica and I have had a lot of interest in kind of like investigating and discussing because it is our background within Catholicism.
Right.
So yes, that's the subject for today. Before we dive into that too deeply, hello and welcome to Small Group. Veronica, what's your rose and thorn?
Well, let's see. Probably my rose is this cup of coffee that I'm drinking right now. We got a yummy caramel creamer the other day, and the Keurig is keeping me going.
I'm trying so hard not to bump the mic.
Oh my gosh, my thorn is definitely the mic and how hard it is to like do anything. I put my coffee there yesterday and like struggled so much trying to like limbo under while talking to get the coffee.
But I love this setup. I love this setup. It's really nice to not have to hold the mics, I think, is the other thing, because then you have to be so careful about like moving it in and out from your face.
Right. We have too much we're doing right now.
Too much
as well with our hands.
Yes. We've got our little crafts. We've got our laptops.
Coffee,
we've got a lot happening.
Water.
Too much. Okay. Wonderful.
So what about you? What's your rose and thorn?
I would say my rose is also definitely this cup of coffee right now. She will be bringing me back to life.
Cheers.
Cheers. Ooh, sorry. Again, avoiding the microphone. My thorn, I don't know. I think we're chilling. We're doing great.
The clouds are starting to come out.
I would say actually maybe my one thorn, particularly related to this episode, is that I have been thinking that I've been working on this episode for so long, and I had crowdsourced for some resources and keep getting emails coming in with links to documents and links to websites. And so just know there's so much more to all of this, but you get what I have as of right now, including actually, I just pulled up as we were like setting up to record this episode, a document that was sent to me within the past hour of Amy Coney Barrett at the People of Praise Women's Leaders Conference in 2006.
In 2006? Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to hear.
Oh, that's fascinating. Okay, let's get into it all. Let me see. Let me pull up my little doc. All right. I think let's start with J.D. Vance. So we talked about him tiny smidge before on the podcast when the thing happened with right before Pope Francis passed away, with him rebuking
for immigration
J.D. Vance
stuff.
Over immigration. Yeah. Oh wait, no. What happened right before Pope Francis passed away was that J.D. Vance met with Pope Francis, but
which was on the heels of
yes.
this rebuke.
Because so we do have an episode on that. We've touched on it a little bit, but this is like a little bit of a different angle. So basically, J.D. Vance is a Catholic convert. I think that's pretty well known and publicized. Yeah. So he did not grow up within Catholicism. I'm pulling particularly from this article right here, 13 things to know about J.D. Vance's Catholic journey from the NCR, National Catholic Register. And one of them is, as a teenager, Vance was a Pentecostal.
Wow, Pentecostal.
Yeah, I didn't know that specific detail. As an adolescent, Vance reconnected with his biological father, whom he hadn't seen much of after his parents split up. For a while, he stayed with his dad every other weekend. Quote, with little religious training, I was desperate for some exposure to a real church, Vance wrote in Hillbilly Elegy. His father had given up drinking and become a serious Pentecostal, and he would take Vance to a large Pentecostal church in southeastern Ohio with his new wife and their children. Vance drank it in. Among other things, he rejected evolution and embraced millennialism, including a belief that the world would end in 2007. Quote, I'm not sure if I liked the structure or if I just wanted to share in something that was important to him. Both, I suppose, but I became a devoted convert, Vance writes in his memoir. So yeah, he has a Pentecostal background, which I do think is very interesting, particularly in the ties to the charismatic side of things. Which again is kind of just interesting overall, considering that I don't think I would consider Vance to be an individual, at least in the way he's portrayed, to be particularly of a charismatic nature. Like he is more traditional.
Yeah, he gives trad more so than charismatic, but you're right. I guess with the Pentecostal background and then obviously Southeast Ohio.
And the ties to Franciscan University, which is the next piece I was going to talk about. I don't know how I didn't know about this. I posted something on TikTok about this recently and people were like, I can't believe you're just finding this out now. And I was like, okay, well, I don't know how I'm just finding it out either.
All I really know about it, Evelyn, is that I remember being a student when he was running for Senate.
Yeah.
Okay. And I saw signs up on campus that he was speaking at Fralix that night. And I thought about going because at the time I only knew him as the author of Hillbilly Elegy, which was prior to his conversion to Catholicism and prior to his political career. And my mom was actually really into the memoir because she had like a similar hillbilly transplant in Ohio. Really poor upbringing. Right. So she really resonated with it. So I like wanted to go. But anyway, but I didn't know. I think there's even more stuff than that. All I knew was, you know.
So I believe it was when we were doing our last episode on JD Vance that you mentioned the thing about Fralix. And I went to Google about that to pull up some images. And this is where I found out that not only was, so Fralix, for context, if you hadn't watched our prior episode, is just like a bar in Steubenville. Like it's just a good place to meet up. But that was, it was just a place he was campaigning. I was curious about that because I know that was advertised to students, like per what Veronica had said. And I just wanted to pull some pictures for like the Instagram. But what I found out is that not only did JD Vance like campaign in Ohio for Senate, but actually he was involved in Franciscan University conference.
Which I can't, like, when was this conference?
That was actually literally what I was just
because the thing is, like, I know literally every event that happened at Franciscan from 2018 to 2022. So I'm like so curious when I saw that picture. I think you sent me that picture of him speaking in the Gentile gallery. It's like a bird's eye aerial view from the balcony. I was really surprised seeing it because it looked like something that would have been on the Trube. And I should have known about that. So like I was really curious.
Okay, so it was in 2022. And this was the other thing that surprised me is like this happened while I was there. I just don't think I clocked it because it's not like he was like the current vice president.
I think you were in Austria.
Oh my gosh, you're right. That is when I was in Austria.
That says October 2022. Yep. So
that was been in Austria.
That was the first month that I was able to check out for the first time from campus events that was no longer at the paper.
So that was called Restoring a Nation, the Common Good in the American Tradition. It happened in October of 2022. I'm on Franciscan's website right now. Also, sidebar, now they have a thing. Instead of saying academically excellent, passionately Catholic, it says live the truth.
Wait, that's their
in this little, well, I don't know that that's their new thing, but that's where it used to say.
It used to be their main tagline.
And now it says live the
excellent,
truth.
Passionately Catholic.
Fascinating.
Wow. Okay. They have, I think, signs when you drive up on campus saying the live the truth on it. So interesting.
Little fun side tidbit. For context, some of the other speakers at this conference were Sohrab Ahmari. He was the organizer. He's a founder and editor of Compact magazine. He spent nearly
either direction.
Breathing.
I was facing forward.
What it is then? It knows.
It's just hitting the yeah, just make sure you have your like sewing thing just slightly to the side of the mic, because I think then it's just that thing where if you're trying to look straight ahead but you're not looking at something, you know, like when you're getting a haircut and your head just keeps going every other direction.
Okay. No, I'm just confused because every time he says it, I like am not facing the mic. So
it just must be the angle. Like it's just like one nostril's hitting the edge of the microphone or something, you know?
Okay. It sounds perfect. It's just when you're
for sure. Yeah. Thank you. So for context, some of the other speakers at this conference, we had Sohrab Ahmari. He is a founder and editor of Compact magazine. He spent nearly a decade at News Corp, was an op-ed editor of the New York Post, and a columnist and editor with the Wall Street Journal. His writing has appeared in the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Spectator. Anyway, there's a lot more things, actually. He is more influential than I think.
A political correspondent.
Yes,
that's
definitely.
Very involved.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Then we've got Rachel Bavard. She's a senior director of policy at the Conservative Partnership Institute.
Okay.
Yeah. John Burkta, the sixth. The fourth?
V-I
I struggle
or
with IV.
IV, 4.
4. Great. Thank you. I struggle with Roman numerals. Oh my goodness. Fox News, Fox Business, The Washington Post, The American Mind. And then, of course, we have Scott Hahn. There was a picture that I had pulled as well of Scott Hahn and JD Vance like broing it up.
On 4th Street.
On 4th Street. We have Anne Hendershot. Cannot stand the lady. I took a sociology class with her. I mean, generally, like I really do. I need you to understand that I really do try to think positively of people. And I think that most people that I have had personal encounters with who are within this world, I have some kind of space in my heart for. Not Anne Hendershot. Peace and love. I don't understand how she's in charge of the Department of Sociology when everything she taught was so completely lacking any amount of being evidence-based. But okay. I'm kind of skipping through. Great. So
JD Vance was one of these people who were speaking.
Yes.
And at the time, he was not even on the docket.
No,
he was a senator at the time, an Ohio senator.
Sorry. There's going to be a couple gaps to edit out here, kid, because I have like 30 tabs
I guess
open.
he was my Ohio senator. That's crazy.
That's funny. I forgot you were actually like a resident of Ohio at that point.
Oh, fuck. What year did he join the U.S. Ohio Senate? I maybe fucking voted for him in 2020.
I don't know what year he joined the Senate.
I voted in Maryland.
Lovely. Wonderful.
In 2020.
Okay. Sorry. So I pulled
2022.
2022.
Oh, okay.
You voted in Maryland?
No, I didn't. I voted in Ohio, but I don't remember voting.
Okay, great. So this is the other page that I was trying to access from the Restoring a Nation conference, which is just a little bit of a description, I guess, of what it is. The 2022 Veritas Center Conference at Franciscan University brings together leading scholars, elected officials, journalists, and students who recognize that America's liberal consensus has enriched and empowered a narrow elite, but failed the nation and its people. So, okay, and I don't want to say I disagree. The billionaire, the whole billionaire,
right.
But I fear that we're blaming that on the liberals when I think all of us don't. Okay, whatever.
Evelyn, did you know that the Veritas Center tried to recruit me?
The Veritas Center tried to recruit you?
Yeah, that hosted this.
Oh, cute.
They simply didn't respond to me again, though, after the initial email asking me to get involved.
Okay.
So funny.
Promising equal opportunity, it has entrenched chasmic material inequalities, plugging working and middle-class people into depths of job and health insecurity and despair. Promising a marketplace of ideas and an endless array of lifestyle choices, it has yielded a suffocating conformism, a public square owned and controlled by a few corporations. Promising to liberate the individual from inherited obligations and unchosen communities, it has done just that, shattering the family and the political community, and leaving the individual defenseless amidst the topsy-turvy of the market. There is another way, a different account of our common life, ordered to the true flourishing of the whole. It's a vision as old as the triple foundations of the West, Greek philosophy, Christian religion, and Roman law. And yet this vision is no foreign or exotic thing. Time and again it has found expression, however inchoate?
I don't know how you say it. Inchoate?
I think it's inchoately. Okay, please.
I don't even remember what that word means.
In America's non-liberal traditions, from the classical frame that renders American law legible as law to the vital resistance movements against liberal domination that shook the 19th and 20th centuries and produced enduring reforms. Our task then isn't to fashion something new, but to recover forgotten wisdom. And I find this fascinating, considering that I think that there is a lot of, I think this is the piece that's broadly appealing. I actually find this super interesting from the perspective of thinking about, I don't know if anyone who would be watching this video would have seen this. When I saw it on YouTube, it had like a significant amount of views, but there was this piece that someone had done recently on bringing Bernie Sanders into like rural West Virginia and having him like talk with MAGA Trump voters. And they were kind of talking about like why they voted for Trump. And I think it's a lot of these pieces of it, right? It's that corporations and like the people, the small number of people in the upper class who can have so much wealth that everyone else is suffering. Like, I think a lot of people resonate with that, particularly if you're talking about, again, in the Franciscan University, it's in the corner of Ohio. It's literally, you can see West Virginia from campus. It's essentially Okay, I keep getting flamed for my
Appalachia.
pronunciation. Appalachia. And yeah, I mean, I think this is just like a very appealing message, right? To an economy and a group within our society that is suffering some of the most consequences of this. But it's odd to me then that what made things work, made things work before, when the way they make this appeal is that, oh, it's the liberals who made the coal industry go away because of renewable energy and all of this. Like, that's the appeal in. But the thing that actually made that area flourish was the unionization of the steel and coal industries, which is why it was a heavily blue sector of America for so long, is that the Democratic Party was backing working class Americans and unions. And then as those industries collapsed and the Democratic Party kind of reconfigured what its optimal group of, what its target audience was, and it went more towards suburban, middle of the road Americans versus the working class individuals in suffering and dying industries. I think it just creates a void that it's easy to fill with something like this, to pretend that if we go back to the traditional values that will solve this problem.
Right. Like, working class America is largely red now instead of blue. Like, rural, like, cities vote Democrat and rural votes red, even though often, like, that's not actually in their best interest. They're looking, I think that's so funny, that description about, like, the few corporations that hold all the power. That's what people on the left get really riled up about in terms of capitalism, private equity, and the consolidation of wealth and power. And now Vance, in the last 3 years, was elected a senator of Ohio and became Trump's VP of the United States of America. Trump, who is a celebrity billionaire.
Yeah. I guess coming from the background of, like, I have family who's quite Trump friendly, make America great again. I understand the argument, or like the appeal, I suppose, is that this is someone who's not from the inside of the political game.
Right.
But ultimately, I mean, here we are in the exact same place. Right. And so I'm not trying to say, like, that the Democratic Party is, like, living up to that. Certainly not saying that either. But yeah, I don't know. This is one thing, actually, it's kind of as a side note, that I found very fascinating, and that, like, still kind of resonates with me from, like, the Veritas Society type conversations, is that a lot of it was focused on this very, like, small, local. Like, I love the way that we were able to, like, support a lot of, like, local small businesses. It wasn't, I mean, obviously, like, there's some pieces, like, that if you're in a rural place, like, for example, we got a lot of our groceries from, like, Walmart, for example, because that's just the option. But there were a lot of things that, instead of where there could have been chains, there were a lot of small business options to be buying your meat and produce from during certain times of the year, and, like,
there's, like, a lot of
there's a lot of small business. They would do the Saturday markets where it'd be, like, locally baked bread and, like, jams and things like that. And when you go to the, like, Veritas Society type, I went to one where they were talking about the stock market, and they were talking about the concept of, like, how investing in the stock market is kind of inherently non-Catholic because of the fact that you are investing your money into things that are causing harm in large ways. And I'm like, I like that kind of intellectual. I mean, it's like, in practicality, that doesn't play out very neatly, but I like that kind of intellectual wave of thought, I suppose. It's just the application of it.
Yeah, I think that's, like, very connected to New Polity, which doesn't fall very well into party lines, and they're very distributive and about which.
Did you work for New Polity?
Who?
You had your internship?
Oh, no, I didn't work at New Polity. I worked at the National Review. New Polity is a local to Steubenville think tank that a lot of professors are involved in, and that is pretty well known now outside of just the Franciscan community. But distributism, I think it's called something like that. It has to do with the people owning the means of production collectively. Which is instead of, like, major corporations then, like, hiring people and you're always working for somebody else. And that does have a big influence, which is kind of neat in that intellectual crowd.
Yeah.
Franciscan, shout out to the Demox debates.
The Demox debates. I mean,
loved you and loved
to hate you. So,
it was fun. Like, they were fun.
They were fun.
You're right. They were problematic, but they were fun.
So kind of moving along, I just want to talk like a little bit more through this conference because I do just think this is an interesting piece of background. Basically, I was not able to access like a video copy of JD Vance's talk that he gave at this. I think that would have been super fascinating. But I think like just being able to get an insight into the framework in which he was participating is helpful. So one of the talks here was called "The Post-Liberal Promise: Another World is Possible. What does it mean to be post-liberal today?" This panel discussion at the 2022 Restoring a Nation Conference at the Franciscan University explores this question and more. The Perfect Society, Church, State, and the Common Good. For the 2022 Restoring a Nation Conference, Dr. Scott Hahn, theology professor at Franciscan University, talks about how the sacrament of marriage and the family can transform culture. And Dr. Chad Pecknold then speaks to what constitutes a perfect society. America's forgotten common good traditions, political economy, and the family policy after Dobbs. How can we foster more pro-life and pro-family policies, especially after the Supreme Court decision in Dobbs? Dr. Ann Hendershot. So the thing here is that like I do get a little bit confused about how the appeal to the whole thing is, oh my gosh, remember when things used to be so great and people could afford things and like corporations didn't dominate our lives, but then like somehow the solution is like fixing abortion and gay people.
Yeah.
That's what I get a little.
So the summary was saying the financial economic state of America is messed up. And then the titles of the talks that you've actually seen are Scott Hahn talking about marriage and the family and Ann Hendershot talking about pro-life policies.
Well, and I think like the thing that's just so interesting is that like, I don't think that people disagree that marriages and family, well, okay, I'm not going to say that entirely. I definitely think there's a wave of people within America who that's not necessarily a priority for. But I think that generally as a whole, a lot of people would agree that marriage and family are important building blocks of society, like for sure. Religious or not, across political affiliations. I think most people agree those are generally good things. So that's the part that becomes like hard to kind of speak against, right? Is this piece of... Obviously, I do want a world in which like families are able to flourish and like marriages are able to be strong, because obviously like if you're having children, the ideal situation is us living in a world where like the children have the best opportunities, right. And, you know, like all of these types of things. It's very lovely, except for I just know in practice, particularly Dr. Ann Hendershot and her whole thing around the family, it's going to be about transing the kids. It's going to be about the gay people, and it's going to be about abortion. It's not going to be about like the real actual...
And divorce.
It's going to be about these things and not the like bigger picture problems that are making family life difficult in America right now. For example, cutting of social safety nets, economic disparity, rising political tensions. These are all things that play a lot into people's decisions to get married, have children, the number of children that they have, the age at which they have them. Like, so, you know, whatever. Okay, I'm going to move off of this point. I pulled a couple. So I already read you guys number 3 from 13 Things to Know About J.D. Vance's Catholic Journey. I had pulled 2 more that I found interesting. Number 8 was a homosexual billionaire influenced Vance's outlook on life. While a student at Yale Law School, Vance went to a talk by venture capitalist Peter Thiel, who was Facebook's first outside investor and co-founded PayPal. According to Vance, Thiel argued that the elite professionals got themselves trapped into climbing rungs on the socioeconomic ladder at the expense of happiness. Vance realized that he was obsessed with achievement for itself, not as an end to something meaningful, but to win a social competition. He also concluded that he had prioritized striving over character. Thiel introduced Vance to the thought of René Girard.
Oh my gosh, Peter, you're kidding. Not
René
Peter.
Girard!
Oh my God.
A French historian and philosopher whose writings, among other things, attracted Vance through the way he described Christianity as transcending the scapegoat myth of various cultures, because Christ, quote, has not wronged the civilization has wronged him.
I'm sorry. Peter Thiel is like a conservative gay man?
So... Yes. Thiel, now 56, who identifies as a Christian and a conservative, is civilly married to a man.
What?
Vance worked for Thiel in venture capital, and Thiel was Vance's
By the way,
major contributor.
It's Thiel.
Thiel? Oh, oopsies. And Thiel was Vance's major contributor in Vance's successful run for U.S. Senate in Ohio in 2022.
What? Peter Thiel backed Vance?
I don't know enough about
funded Vance's thing.
But apparently, yes.
I don't know either, except that I just know his name is, he's like a very influential conservative because he founded PayPal. He has like the PayPal money.
Yeah, I don't think I knew he was gay.
I definitely always forget that.
And also like a friend of JD Vance's. Okay,
Yeah,
but I loved the title. They definitely picked a little clickbait for the top of that one. Homosexual billionaire influenced Vance's outlook on life. But I'm fascinated. I'm actually quite fascinated by the concept of Rene Girard's philosophy being influential, because this is actually also what is quite attractive to me about Christianity,
right,
is this whole concept of the scapegoat myth and how Christ has not wronged the civilization has wronged him. But I do feel as though Vance has not transcended this whole scapegoat myth when somehow every other word out of his mouth is about how the gays, the abortions, and the migrants are the problem.
Yeah.
I'm a little confused on that one.
Yeah.
To be honest, but okay. And then number 12 on the list was Vance credits practicing Catholicism with making him a better person. Vance says practicing his Catholic faith has helped him increase his patience, curb his temper, forgive more easily, and choose his family over his career. After he became Catholic,
choose his family over his career?
Vance wrote in his conversion essay, I realized there was a part of me, the best part, that took its cues from Catholicism. And I like that for him. It's like when I read this, I'm like, oh, how nice. But then it's like, but this is continually not the way you show up as a
family over your career, except isn't he married to an immigrant? And now he became vice president of a man who loudly hates immigrants.
Well, and like not only vice president to a man who loudly hates immigrants, but it's not like he's just like sitting there where Trump says all this stuff. He says this stuff too.
Right. His kids are second generation Americans.
Well, I mean, and Trump is married to Melania.
Melania's white. She doesn't count.
Okay. There was this other article from Slate that said, that's titled, JD Vance used to be an atheist. What he believes now is telling. And the like byline, the subtitle, there we go, that's the word, is he's not an evangelical Christian. He's a Catholic of a very specific type. And in this article, oh my God. Oh, sorry. Okay. I can see this one quote over like the paywall, but this was the one quote I wanted to pull from it.
Oh,
anyway.
slay. Oh my God.
In 2021, when JD Vance was asked at a conference why he had converted to Catholicism just 2 years earlier, he had a fairly simple answer. Quote, I really liked that the Catholic Church was just really old, he said.
Oh my God.
Love that for you, JD. Okay. Those are my main kind of like points on him, I guess. I think that my perspective of it is that JD Vance is, and obviously like I'm not trying to sit here, I think that people do this with politicians a lot actually in the world of Catholicism. They sit here and try to like read into like what their real actual faith life is. And so I'm not entirely trying to do that. Like people will be like, oh, Joe Biden this or Nancy Pelosi this. And I'm not trying to really do that. But just what I'm getting, my overall vibe is that like Catholicism is something that's very utilitarian to him. It serves a purpose. Right. And that's fine. Like faith can serve a purpose in our lives, except for that he's just like weaponizing it in a political way.
It seems like Pentecostalism and like Christianity sort of appealed to him. And then Catholicism has the ancient tradition authority to back it up as like a reliable, authority on religion.
Well, and I think that's just like the thing we're seeing right now with these influential conservative figures who are becoming Catholic is that it's like you have that's just what being conservative is, right? It's going back to the old. Right. It's relying on the tradition. And so I think Catholicism has a particular appeal in that way. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's like I have no problems with anyone's personal faith. I don't have a problem with anyone engaging with faith because of the benefits it provides to their lives. It's kind of a problem though when it's like, it almost feels like a disingenuous engagement that's being weaponized in a way that's hurting people.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But I would say just his background story is fascinating to me because I think we've definitely talked about this on the podcast so many times before. that turmoil and like instability and like poverty, these factors that create a lot of instability in a person's life, particularly in a young person's life.
Yeah.
Especially like family instability. And if he's talking about like his dad's alcoholism, like those are all factors that I do think play into people seeking a more high demand type of religious experience.
Definitely. I mean, I think like obviously there's so much to the discourse on J.D. Vance, and we're just touching on one small section of the Catholic whatever. I think it's, you know, of course, when you're talking about J.D. Vance and Catholicism, you have to talk about what we've already talked about on the podcast about his statement about the Catholic Ordo Amoris, the order of love, where you love your family,
which is simply not Catholic.
Your local community, and then the rest of your country, and then you can start thinking about people outside your country. And the USCCB wrote a letter to him saying that's not true, and then he said the bishops are dumb, and then the Pope himself put out a statement saying some politicians say, but that's the Ordo Amoris is not that. It has to do with loving God first and loving your neighbor as yourself. That's what it actually means. Here's what Augustine actually says. Anyway, it was like so iconic, and it was all over the news about how the Pope was dragging the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance. And maybe you're not a good Catholic if you are saying, I know better than the Pope. And then on, was it Easter Sunday itself? He like visited the Pope on Easter Sunday. He had like an audience, and I was like surprised because I saw that J.D. Vance was in Rome and at the Vatican on Good Friday. And I was like, trying to seek a papal audience over the Triduum is crazy work. This is the busiest time of year for the Catholics. Like, dude, what? But then there was footage of them seeing each other, like there were photos of them. So I can only imagine how that conversation went when the Pope had been subtweeting J.D. Vance just a couple months before. And then not even 24 hours later, the Pope dies suddenly. And J.D. Vance continued to get dragged all over the internet for killing the Pope. Like, can you imagine, like, that's the ultimate roast for Pope Francis to be like, before I died, I really had to set you right.
Yes. Love that
which
for
is like
him.
Really funny.
And also I love Pope Leo now for just being so deeply anti-American conservative Catholicism.
And now we
made
have
him
Pope
the most
Leo.
Perfect. Okay.
Like Pope Francis was like, I can't handle you. I'm going to let the American take over to like figure this shit out.
This is where I'm going to check out, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to go now into Amy Coney Barrett. So Amy Coney
Incredible.
Barrett.
I'm so excited.
Yes. This is surface level. Like this is introductory. If you want to listen to us yap about this more, best believe. Like I learn more every single day, I swear to God. Basically, Veronica and I had this pet conspiracy theory for a really long time. We actually have an episode where we'll like specifically be talking about the entire pet conspiracy theory in depth. But basically, when we were deconstructing, at least for me, there was this piece of it that was like, there's some little thingy bobber going on here. But like, I kind of had a vague concept of like the youth network of Franciscan University.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. I'm not going to get into it too much depth. Basically, we've learned a lot, not only about Franciscan University's Covenant Community pipeline, but just about like the way the entire Covenant Community system did its whole thing in general. And so basically, brief overview, because again, we're going to get into this more later. But there was a weekend at Duquesne University where the Catholic charismatic movement started. And one of the very next places it spread after that was to Notre Dame. And then a Covenant Community, People of Praise, was established in South Bend. And I think they're still there.
People of Praise is still there, and they have multiple locations in multiple states.
So now it's become like a larger, so Covenant communities generally are a huge network of things that are everywhere, but then also within the different types of Covenant communities, there's like it's like People of Praise is like a network of Covenant communities. It started out as one, but now there's like locations of it.
Right.
So yes, the original was in South Bend. Amy Coney Barrett grew up in a People of Praise community. And I remember this being something, like this was visible, like this was known. This was something that was being discussed during her confirmation hearing. People had concerns about it, particularly. I think the thing that stuck out to a lot of the secular world is that she was a handmaid, which is a title.
Was she?
Yes.
I don't think I knew that.
So she was a handmaid, which is a title within a covenant community. Like it's just but it's unrelated to.
She was the wife of a coordinator, right? Her husband would have been high up.
I don't think that's actually the way from. Okay, so I just read the entire People of Praise constitutions, and handmaids are elected separately from. So it's not just because your husband has a position. They're a women's position of power within the organization. That obviously it's like the amount of things they have control over is basically restricted to the women's sphere of life. It's a lot less power than being a coordinator, but it is it's elected separately from.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
But so she was a handmaid, and that freaked a lot of people out because of the Handmaid's Tale. Obviously, it's like related in the sense that like the Handmaid's Tale pulls the word handmaid from the Bible, and People of Praise pulls the word handmaid from the Bible, but that's about the extent of like the relation.
Well, is that true?
They didn't get it from Handmaid's Tale.
No.
I am a handmaid of the Lord.
Well, I've seen like Margaret Atwood has claimed, I'm not sure if the dates really line up for this, that she was inspired by the People of Praise covenant community for using that word.
Actually, it's not though, because I don't know.
It is reported in a newspaper. I like take that with a grain of salt, but people say she was sort of.
Sorry, I'm like my brain is trying to
took it from CovCom a little bit.
Okay, I saw something in one of the I may have been one of the emails we were sent. It may have been the lecture I was watching from a survivor of People of Praise. It may have been it's like hard for my brain to trace where this is coming from because this is not in my notes, but someone from Covenant Community, like a former member of Covenant Community in some kind of location, was telling me that that's like not accurate, like it's kind of like a myth. But I don't know. Okay, so that's my disclaimer.
That's what I thought. I thought it sounded like a wives' tale.
Yeah, it's
But yeah.
I mean, because covenant communities, they're quite culty, but there's no like concubineship going on there. So just so we're clear on that, that front. That's not, no. I had someone ask me once when I talked about growing up in the charismatic renewal and like this covenant community adjacent type of way. And they're like, oh my God, did your family have a handmaid? And I was like, that's not how this works.
Oh my gosh.
Also, like, I was just like, okay, whatever.
That's crazy.
Pulling myself back in. Someone photocopied and sent to me the People of Praise constitutions, which is basically their founding documents, their rule of life, their procedures for elections. I swear to God, that was like 20 pages of it was just the procedures for elections of every different position within the covenant community, and it was boring. But there was a lot of juicy stuff in there. So here are some little quotes I pulled from it.
So I want to say she was a handmaid, which means she was elected into a position of power as an adult, right? I think she was also raised in the community herself.
That's what I was saying. She was raised in People of Praise.
And then stayed as an adult.
Well, so we're going to get there.
Okay, I'm just checking. Okay.
Sorry. Yes, she was raised in People of Praise. And I guess like the thing I was curious about is everyone talks about her growing up in People of Praise.
Exactly.
But I was curious about like the extent to which that continued to be involved in her life.
Yeah.
And that is something like we're going to
that's what I'm
into this
realizing first time.
So I'm also going to link in the show notes. There is a 2-hour interview on YouTube that was sent to us from a People of Praise survivor. I believe he started a foundation.
There's a People of Praise survivors website.
That's what I was going to say. It's like the People of Praise survivors.
Incredible.
What is it? popsurvivors.com. So there's that. I will also, link this video that I'm kind of pulling some things from, but it was very useful. And one of the things he was saying within the context of this video was that within South Bend, because that was the one he was coming from, within South Bend, they had always been grasping for control of local and state government positions of power.
Okay.
But when he, as an adult, fully deconstructed, fully unplugged from the community at this point, was hearing about Amy Coney Barrett, he was the one who was like going to all the networks being like, guys, like she grew up in People of Praise.
I know her.
And he was like, his wording was essentially like, I was shocked that I know they like power. I know they like political power, but I was shocked they would aim so high, like try to take this much power. Particularly, and I think, I don't know, again, not to sound too conspiracy theory-ish, but there is something that feels strategic about having a woman do it. A woman from the community.
I think it kind of helps to legitimize, first of all, we don't oppress women.
That's what I mean.
She held power here, but then also, to be kind of more incognito and then meet like the DEI requirement type of thing, that people would be like, ooh, a woman Supreme Court justice, and not, oh, a crazy Catholic conservative cult Supreme Court justice.
So what I'm pulling here from the constitutions and the covenant of the community, because also, like, FYI, this is where the word covenant community comes from. It's they all sign a covenant. This is the way of life they live by. The reason I'm pulling these is because I think it's important to understand the foundation of her life. And I had someone who was saying something to me on TikTok the other day where this was not about Amy Coney Barrett. This is about Charlie Kirk. And I had been talking about things Charlie Kirk had said in the past or whatever. And they were like, I grew up with you in your church. We went to high school together. I'm so disappointed to see that you would be referencing people's past statements on their views, because you more than anyone should know that people's past political and religious views don't dictate their life now. And I'm like, I think it's a very different thing for me to, well, and that's also why I think, like, it's bad to kill people, because then they don't ever have the chance to have, well, I mean, just generally, but I mean, a piece of it is that they don't ever have a chance to then change their mind later to continue to grow and develop as a person in their theology. That's why the church opposes the death penalty. Okay, great. All these things. So I'm not pulling these things to try to dig into her past and be like, she must suck now because of her past. But it's like, if you have not disaffiliated yourself from these things, I think that's
exactly what I was going to say, Evelyn. The difference between you and Amy Coney Barrett is that you...
A lot of things.
Okay. In this particular situation where you were being like critiqued for that, I think the difference is that you are very open about how you've changed and no longer hold certain views. And Amy Coney Barrett, like, as far as to my knowledge,
has not disavowed this.
Right. And I remember because Trump, didn't Ruth Bader Ginsburg pass away and then Trump nominated Amy to replace her? Right. So I remember when that happened, I was a student. Were you a freshman?
Yeah, I would have been a freshman, because I remember exactly where I was when I...
Oh, really?
Sorry, it was like a...
Okay, because I remember the thing that I remember is being on campus and people would like... There were stickers being passed out in the student center that says the dogma lives loudly within you, that people ended up having for a long time, because I think that was from an old interview, or something that was said to her in court by somebody that, oh, the dogma lives loudly within you.
Yeah, I think that was something that was said to her during one of her confirmation hearings. Yeah,
it became a badge of honor for people who do believe in dogma and follow dogma. And there was concern, like, I think everyone in our circles, like the conservative Catholics, like wanted to see Catholic, devout, charismatic mother of 7 children in the Supreme Court. That was like very exciting, but there was a lot of concern over whether she would be impartial to the law and stuff like that. So I just remember discourse around that. Now I forget why I brought that up.
Okay, well, sorry. No, because it is interesting. I just pulled it up and...
Sorry, that was what I meant, was because like all of that was going on and it wasn't like she came out to clarify like, oh no, like I'm not as conservative and like, yes, I know I grew up in
this was my praise.
I grew up in a covenant community, but I'm no longer charismatic. I'm no longer part of a covenant community. I just like go to church on
I'm just a normal Catholic.
She never said it.
That wasn't
like
happening.
That. Right.
So, okay, just for context, this is like the AI, the Google AI overview, but it says the phrase, the dogma lives loudly within you, was a critical remark made by Senator Dianne Feinstein to the then judicial nominee, Amy Coney Barrett, during a 2017 Senate hearing. The statement was intended to express concern that Barrett's deep Catholic faith, or quote, dogma, would influence her legal rulings. But so yeah, it was a critical remark that became a badge of honor within the church. That is for sure. The things from the constitutions. The first quote I pulled is, "We know that this ministry means death to our old selves and may even involve the shedding of our blood as he shed his. The new covenant is a covenant in the blood of Jesus Christ." 1 Corinthians 11:25. "And it is the means by which we commit our lifeblood to God." I feel that anything that involves a blood oath...
That is a covenant.
I mean, okay, but
also it's weird. And why do we have to shed our blood? Like, why is that?
Martyr. It's giving
it's giving persecution,
Christian persecution complex for sure. So yeah, that one was fun. Another quote separately says, "Making this covenant is the means to full membership in the community. No one is allowed to make this covenant without an adequate period of formation and preparation. Those who make the covenant are making a definitive and permanent choice of a particular mode of life lived in response to an invitation by the Spirit of God."
Wow.
So I mean, yeah,
Okay.
kind of speaks for herself there. Another quote, the people of praise strive for the detachment of heart our Lord revealed in the Beatitudes, which characterizes the people of God everywhere at all times. I remember texting Veronica when I pulled this one. I was like, what do they mean by detachment of heart? Because my initial reaction when it says that is this idea of like this idea kind of popularized with like toxic empathy or whatever. That's where my brain went.
For me, it means like Ignatius, when he talks about discernment, talks a lot about holy detachment, which is I'm not attached to the things of this world. I'm not attached to my material success. Holy detachment is saying, well, I have these possessions, but if they all burn down in a fire, I'm not going to like be heartbroken that I lost my childhood photos or like photos of my kids or like whatever.
Okay, so that's fair. I think it's an interesting position of a group known for the power that they seek over other individuals.
I mean, I think it is very targeted to erode like your sense of self.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like
you're going to like
your
follow.
Your own moral like compass, your own like intuition around like.
Right, like holy detachment. It's a big thing that's talked about like for religious is having holy detachment because you don't control your life. You go where you're assigned, etc. But when in the secular world, like it often gives me the ick of being a tool for control.
Yeah. Okay, another quote. All those who desire to join the people of praise are prayed with to be baptized in the Spirit for the release of the charismatic gifts if they have not been prayed with previously. Gifts of tongues and prophecy are particularly encouraged, lest the Spirit be quenched. What do you mean they're particularly encouraged? That just feels theologically odd to me. But isn't it just whatever God is giving you as a spiritual gift? They just want to see you speak in tongues.
Right. There's like a twofold nature to that because both, yes, the gifts are given for the upbuilding of the kingdom, not just for you. So like you'll never get a prophetic word just for yourself, right? The prophetic word is meant to be shared for the body. Yes. The same thing with a healing is supposed to be a sign for the body and not just yourself. But tongues is often then put in this separate category of something that's accessible to all people to be praying. Yeah. And that is its own messy situation.
Very messy. I mean, I think, like people like laugh about that on TikTok. I think that's something that's kind of like generally known at this point is just the irony of.
Well, yes, but I mean like I've just been in so many situations where somebody's like, I haven't received the gift of tongues. And then they're told, well, the Lord wants to give everyone the gift of tongues because he's praying for you in size too deep for words. Like St. Paul says, the Spirit prays for us with size too deep for words. And then encourage you to just open your mouth and start like making sounds and babbling until you are like praying in tongues. And I think it becomes very manipulative in the fact that like if it's not coming naturally to you, you feel like there's something wrong and there must be a point where you're not accepting the Spirit into your heart. And that can be very difficult for people.
I definitely felt that way in the
distracting if you feel like you have to be praying in tongues. So then this particular encouragement is like praying over you for the baptism of the Holy Spirit and Lord, please like send your gifts upon this person, especially a gift of tongues, Lord.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that feels very Pentecostal about all of it, right? Is that they believe that you're only saved if you've been baptized in the Holy Spirit as evidenced by the speaking of in tongues.
Yeah, it's not just like that you're saved, it's that you're living the authentic full Christian life. Yeah. Still like go to heaven, but you're not experiencing the fullness that your faith life could be.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Anyway.
Lovely. Oh, actually, the other last thing I was going to say there is that I feel like the gift of tongues, quote unquote gift, is problematic for sure, manipulative. But I actually feel like the gift of prophecy is like way more problematic and manipulative. Right?
Oh my gosh.
Like you can just say things that are messages from God.
Right. Like you can say something that's a message from God and that could be either you're completely lying and making it up, or you just have a thought that pops into your head that you say that you think might be from God and people believe you that it's from God. So you can intentionally or unintentionally end up manipulating someone. But
I think it's mostly unintentional manipulation.
Correct. But the thing that gets me is that typically people recognize in these spaces that the gift of prophecy can be dangerous in terms of like very unwieldy. You don't want people in a prayer meeting to get up and go to the microphone and just say whatever. You want to make sure that it's vetted and like in accordance with Catholic teaching and like your general interpretation of the Bible and spiritual life. And so often what happens in large gatherings is that everyone will be standing, praying in tongues. And if you have a prophetic word, you go to the people who are in charge. who are standing in the back.
First.
They'll vet it first. You'll tell them. They'll write it down. They'll pray. And if they feel so appropriate, they'll share it with the audience over the microphone.
Yes.
They definitely do that at Franciscan and in other settings that I've been in.
Like, thank God, honestly, because I think it would get really really fast.
But the thing, like, yes, that's logistically important, but I think especially in these covenant community settings, I'm sure there's also times where it's like
control.
Right. Yeah. Like, I don't like that challenges our authority too much, or no, we don't want that message going out. You know, so like how are you vetting, oh, this message came from the Lord or not?
Right.
That's such a hard thing to
well, it's completely arbitrary, but yeah. Okay, this next one I love. Members of the people of praise cooperate with the exercise of authority in all good things. Obedience to authority and submission to headship are active responses to the gifts of God.
The headship would be the coordinator, right?
So yeah, the coordinator, there's a head of every household. This is one thing that I was like reading about. I mean, it's like, this is not like kind of really
the umbrella of authority.
But it's the umbrella of authority, yes. Okay. So there's a head of every household. If it's a household that's comprised of single individuals living together, then the coordinator will appoint a head of household.
Okay.
And then if it's a family, if it's just a family, or if it's a family that also has single people living in conjunction with them, the man will be the head of the household over all of them.
Okay.
And then, like, obviously, like, the father is, he's the head of the household over the wife and the children. And the wife is kind of a head over the children, but under the husband. And then you're under the headship of your area coordinator and then, like, the coordinator generally.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the umbrella of authority.
The umbrella of authority.
You have God, the pastor /
I found the wording of obedience to authority and submission to headship are active responses to the gifts of God. It's like passivity is an active response. You know what I mean?
Well, obedience is choosing to do the thing that they're told. So it is like an active thing, and assenting or not asserting your obedience, but, you know, giving your obedience to somebody is a choice.
That's true. Okay. This last one, last but not least, little clip that I'm going to read from the covenants is something. I'll just read it. One of our basic aims is to build a better world, which is more conducive to Christian living. This means some members work in the secular environment, bringing excellence to their work as a service to mankind and letting this service be infused with the spirit of the gospel.
Okay.
I feel that these are important pieces of context.
It's Christopher de Slaici. The Pope himself said to do that.
Ugh, girl, I don't know the words of the world. Sometimes
it's a post-synodal apostolic exhortation by Pope John Paul II called "The Christian Faithful and Their Role as Laity in Society."
Get a load of this, girl.
Standard reading for all catechetics students at Franciscan.
Okay, well, I changed my major. Okay, now we're gonna pull up this thing that I like literally just got sent. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited for this.
Okay, so this is in the, and you need to believe that I will be now reading every single copy of, now that I know where to find them, I will be reading every copy of this like magazine. Wait, okay, page 10 is where I need to go. I'm going back to the top.
What's the magazine?
That's why I said page 10 is where I need to go. I'm going to scroll back to the top. Vine and Branches. It's like a People of Praise publication, I think. It has a lot going on. And like the cover of this is May 2006. It costs $3. Fun fact. And the like cover of this edition is City Building Plans in Portland. Branch members set their sights on a bold new future.
Slay.
And okay, yeah. Anyway, again, so now I know what I'm doing on my flight home from Denver.
Incredible.
But let's go back to page 10. There's a picture of Amy Coney Barrett and Carolyn Bassett. Amy Coney Barrett's from the South Bend community and Carolyn Bassett from the Northern Virginia community is what the caption says.
So Amy Coney Barrett moved from where she grew up in Louisiana in a satellite community to South Bend.
Yeah, I think
that's crazy.
The more that I am able to comb through, like I was telling Veronica, I found people have been sending me so much stuff since I reached out to this group of individuals who are covenant community survivors, and so this has been like piling up over time, and some of it has been just like incredibly recent that we're hearing from more and more people, because I think some of the people we've been talking to have been connecting us with more people, and it's just turning into this way bigger thing than I think I even realized I would ever be able to access this much information. But I would be curious if the more that I read through the publications and those like archives that I sent you that I just found like 2 days ago, that I was like 40 document, like I can't read that yet. I haven't had the time. But the more that I'm able to comb through this, the more I might be able to like glean a clearer picture of what happened. Because even there was one where it was like the minutes of every single leadership.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Then I would be able to figure out like where she was appointed to positions and like I there's more I can know.
Right.
But right now, this is what I know. And okay, I wanted to see if, I see this picture here, which is what the person had referenced in their email. I wanted to see if she's actually mentioned in the...
Good Command F, Amy.
Oh, you're so right. Yeah, okay, so no, but it's just basically in this one, it's just the picture of her in attendance of this conference. One second. And then there was another thing that was sent in the same email that I literally haven't even opened yet. So, okay, they titled this one, Amy Coney Barrett at the People of Praise Women's Leaders Conference in 2006, picture on page 10. Thank you so much. And then this next link is mention of Amy Coney Barrett joining Trinity School Board on sidebar. Let's see what I can see. Oh, so this is in Louisiana.
Okay.
So this says it's August 12th, but it doesn't tell me the year. And the title of the article is In Shreveport, Praise Academy Opens Its Doors. And
they had a Praise and Worship Academy.
Yes.
People of Praise, baby.
Sorry, again, this is obviously... Oh, okay, so sorry. I'm understanding what's happening here. What he was saying... Okay, so sorry. What it says is, in the parentheses, is main post not in Wayback Machine, though. So he's pulling this stuff from the Wayback Machine. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's a way to access like internet archives. And so he's pulling this from that. When you click on this link, it says on the side, it says more in our work. Okay. And there's this other piece about Amy Coney Barrett. Okay. That the link is not available on the Wayback Machine, but the title of it is September 11th, Notre Dame law professor elected to Trinity Board of Trustees. The Board of Trustees of Trinity School has elected Amy Coney Barrett, a law professor at the University of Notre Dame, as its newest member.
Wow.
So, okay. Anyway, yeah, that's what we know right now. And I think that's a very good, like, intro, surface level touch point on the connections to our world of charismatic Catholicism that we see in both J.D. Vance and Amy Coney Barrett.
Yeah, what I know of People of Praise is I definitely had heard the word before. So when I heard that Amy Coney Barrett was in People of Praise, I was like, oh, that's a covenant community. But I didn't know very much about it. I didn't even know where it was or anything like that, or even that it was a big web. From now, what I can tell from the reading we've done this week is that People of Praise is sort of a counterpart to Sword of the Spirit, where the Word of God in Ann Arbor, Michigan spread into the overarching Sword of the Spirit collective. And then People of Praise started around the same time as Word of God. And they collaborated a lot in the early days, but both grew into their own trees of covenant communities. So Sword of the Spirit is like one collective, and then People of Praise is another collective. And then of course you can have like independents as well who aren't involved in any particular one. And sometimes you had independent ones then joining one or the other of the major branches for further guidance and what have you. But
yeah, I have to say I was not really aware. I kind of was under the impression that these mostly existed under the major networks that we're aware of. And then Veronica and I were just talking the other day, and I knew I had a youth minister who had grown up in community because he had talked about growing up in a covenant community. And I did a lot of Googling, and I found out he was a part of an independent covenant community in Dallas. Yeah. So it wasn't under a network. But what you said just reminded me of something. I had done some looking into this somewhere.
The issue is that a lot of this stuff is like difficult to Google. The search engine optimization is not really there for these like keywords. So truly, like this week, we've been sent a lot of resources that I didn't even know was out there.
That's the thing. I just found out, like, for example, that there's thousands of paper documents archived in a particular university's library, which is how I got a hand on the People of Praise covenants, is that I had someone willing to go there and photocopy it for me. But it's not, a lot of this is not easily accessible. So we've just been learning, honestly, a ton about how to start to access this. And it's just like the more we do access, the more it's like, a lot of these documents cross-reference each other. And then we know, like, it's a little bit easier if we know the title of something that's informing something, that we can then go find that versus just Googling Sword of the Spirit and reading everything that's ever been published on the internet about it. So if you love if you love listening to this episode, if you are fascinated by this as much as we are, please feel free to pop over to patreon.com. Our Patreon is going to be linked in this description because I genuinely cannot tell you how much I love doing this work, how much I am like fascinated by learning about these connections. And anyway, if you want to support us and you want to help make it a little more possible, feel free to give us a subscription over at patreon.com. And we have like pretty low tier subscription options as well, because we understand like that's not something feasible to everyone, but literally you want to throw in $1 a month, $2 a month. We would love it. We would appreciate it. You guys are the best.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I had something that I was about to say and it's gone. Never mind. Well, thank you for tuning into this week's episode of the Leave Laugh Love podcast. Oh, that's what I was going to say. That contact our tip line, leavelaughlovepod@gmail.com. If you do have any documents you want to send us. Exactly. If you have any documents or resources or websites, I couldn't believe there was a POP survivors website, you know? Yeah, that's been like our big joke this week.
Sorry.
But yeah, so tips at leavelaughlovepod.com.
No, it's not. It's not real.
leavelaughlovepod@gmail.com.
Thank you.
But email us, if you have any experience with covenant communities. A lot of this is like word of mouth based, to be able to find the resources on this.
Particularly a lot of this is like pre-internet era also. So that's why a lot of the archives are paper. No one's digitized it yet.
And because this isn't like a huge thing where Google knows how to index, like, oh, if you're searching for sort of the spirit stuff, let's also give you all the people of praise stuff.
Right.
Like, we hadn't gone down any rabbit holes with that yet, or found survivor websites for that.
But so these things are just like search engine.
Email us, peace and love. If you enjoyed this, leave us a comment on Spotify or YouTube, wherever you're watching. If you're listening on an audio only platform, pop over to our new YouTube channel, subscribe, like this video, maybe drop a comment so that we can get the word out there about our YouTube launch. And give us a follow on Instagram, TikTok to stay up to date. Check out the Patreon. Check out all the fun things that Evelyn is linking in the bio description for this episode. And until next week, keep living, laughing, and loving. Bye.